Breaking news is that the International Criminal Court have finally issued arrest warrants for the Israeli Prime Minister and for the former Defense Minister, Gallant, and so that's Benjamin Netanyahu and Gallant. And there's an arrest warrant issued for Mohammed Daif, and this is despite the fact that he was apparently killed in Gaza in a July strike by the Israelis. But, I would be issuing an arrest warrant if I were able to do so for President Putin, who is resident in a Smeg fridge. No idea where that Smeg fridge may be. The judges said there were reasonable grounds that all three men bore criminal responsibility for the alleged crimes, for the crimes against humanity during the war that has been carried out by both Hamas and by Netanyahu's government. And now they will. There's 124 member states of the International Criminal Court, and they have to see whether or not they're going to enforce these warrants. The ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, had been behind getting these warrants for Netanyahu, Gallant, and Daif. The fact that the Hamas leader is among them is testimony to the lack of bias. And presumably Ismail Haniyeh and Yahya Sinwar would also have been included in that list of arrest warrants if they weren't demonstrably proven to have been killed. And I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. And the international community needs to stand firm and needs to say with absolute certainty Netanyahu and his former defense minister, maybe many of his cabinet, are pursuing the wrong sort of self-defense. They are pursuing a belligerent nastiness which comes very close to genocide. Genocide does not involve the killing of people. Genocide involves the intention to kill people. And that is difficult to prove, and yet there are quite a number of statements on the part of Netanyahu and his companions in the current Israeli government that suggest that genocide is part of their intention. And they need to be held to that. Genocide is not about the number of people you kill. You can be guilty of genocide even if you kill nobody. It's about proving intent. And that's why genocide is so difficult as a rule to prove, because intent is rarely communicated. In the case of Netanyahu and Gallant, that intent has been clear. And that's very worrying. So I have no problems at all with self-defense. I think the actions of Hamas on the 7th of October were abhorrent and need to be absolutely condemned. And the people who perpetrated those actions, applauded them, encouraged them, need to be chased down and held to account. The irony of that event is that the kibbutzim that were attacked were mostly bilingual. They knew Arabic as well as Ivrit. And they wanted a greater relationship with the Palestinians in Gaza. They were peacemakers, and they were hacked down in their homes, in their fields, or simply because they were at a festival. Hacked down. Those hostages haven't been released, and the people who are holding them are still culpable. But the war that Netanyahu has fought on the pretense of securing those hostages, on the pretense of getting those hostages back, has had a different purpose. And I believe that purpose is clear. That purpose seems to be, or is, to eradicate the Palestinian community of Gaza, to push back the community of Palestinians north of Israel, and to destroy the activities of Hezbollah. Hezbollah is another criminal terrorist organization that needs to be controlled and made to answer for the appalling behavior and for the appalling criminality that is their raison d'etre. Hezbollah could trade in the gun for the ballot box, but they haven't. They've held the gun at the ballot box. They've intimidated not only Israel, but also Lebanon as the right arm of the horrific Iranian regime. But the fact that I can criticize Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, does not mean that I'm going to hold back and not criticize the current Israeli cabinet. I do, I will, I have done from the beginning. And this is where the tribalism comes in. This is where I resist the tribalism. Absolutely. And I call on you to do the same. It is possible that if you condemn this side, you can also condemn people on this side. It is possible. And it is possible to think of a two-state solution where a peaceful Israel can live together with a peaceful Palestine. But not if you're being tribal. Not if you're trying to apportion blame. We need to stop the blame game. We need to sit down. We need to flesh out a two-state solution. Just as in Ukraine, we need to flesh out a solution that recognizes that Russia was the invader. Russia invaded. Russia was the aggressor. But after that acknowledgement, we need to think, how does the damage done get repaired? And the same thing is true in Israel, because Hamas isn't going to be able to have the money to repair the damage that it has done through its terrorist activity, nor is Hezbollah. But equally now, Israel has done so much damage, it needs to shoulder reparations. It needs to shoulder the repair of the communities that it has damaged, that it has destroyed, that it has tried to eradicate. And how do we know that? Because the settler community is poised to move in. Adverts are circling around saying, come on, move into a little area of heaven in Gaza. Make it forever. Make it forever a part of Israel. No. The settler community needs to be pushed back. The settler community is wrong. And I know a lot of the settler ideology is underpinned by very specific Talmudic beliefs, that you cannot surrender the land. It's the same absurd beliefs that underpin Putin's nonsense. You cannot surrender the land once it's been proclaimed part of Holy Russia. That needs to go. That needs to be destroyed. That absurd ideology needs to go. It needs to be taken away from the settlers. It needs to be taken away from Putin's rhetoric, because it is just words. It's words to defend theft.